Mary laughed as she drove onto Taylor Drive, oblivious to the gray Impala that pulled out of the parking lot behind her. She flew past her family doctor's office, not noticing Dupont talking to a nurse in the parking lot. She flew past the police station, not noticing the police officer that clocked her speed at 90. She never noticed the gray Impala when it pulled up next to her or when it swerved into the... Intrigued? Want more? Then tune in to this week's episode of Mary on the Adult Bedtime Stories for the Creative Soul podcast. Good evening, my good people, and welcome to the Adult Bedtime Stories for the Creative Soul podcast. I am your host, Kamani. Glad you're here with me tonight. We have a lot to talk about, but I'll save that spice for the commercials. So let's jump in. Grab your favorite drink and your comfy blanket, and let's enjoy the show. Let's tune in to Mary. Can you meet me at the office so I can toss around some ideas about the pairing case? Dupont shifted in his seat. He watched as Mary reapplied rouge lipstick in the mirror. He wanted to go with her to the dealership. He wanted to make sure she was picked up in a secure car, a car he could trust to keep her safe. Dupont, are you there? He grabbed Mary's hand. You're beautiful, hun. She smiled and fixed her bang. Listen, Charlie, I know this is important to you, but I have a few things that I must do that are important to me as well, so I have to complete that before I come in. Just give me a few hours and I'll text you when I'm on the way. Dupont put his phone on vibrate and placed it in his coat pocket. He shivered as he went around to open Mary's door. She was dressed in a long brown overcoat with red boots. He couldn't keep his eyes off of her. She smiled as she grabbed her bag and took his hand. The dealership was brightly lit with beautiful cars in the showroom. Mary dropped Dupont's hand and waltzed over to the red Miata. She ran her fingers alongside the driver's door while smiling at herself in the window's reflection. Dupont watched as Mary opened the door. He knew this was going to be a difficult situation. Mary loved race cars. She went to racing events throughout the country, always finding time to drive somebody's fast car. Dupont just wanted her to be safe. He lost his grandmother to a car accident when he was a child and knew hands-on what grief could do to a person. He saw how difficult it was for his mother to cope with her loss and vowed to keep Mary safe in spite of her racing spirits. A salesman began to speak with Mary about the car's velocity and handling. He began walking to his office to get the keys when Dupont walked up. I know this car is more of your speed, but I saw a very nice Volvo on the lot. It has a lot of character that I know you'll love. Let's take a look, shall we? Mary smiled in the direction of the salesman and grabbed Dupont's hand. They spent the next hour test driving different Volvos until Dupont remembered his appointment with Charlie at the firm. Okay, Mary, are you set on the black SUV? She smiled, but didn't say a word. I hope you're thinking about it. I have to get to a meeting, but I'm sure you'll make the best decision for you, for us. Dupont kissed Mary's hand and walked out the door. Ma'am, have you made up your mind about the car you're interested in purchasing today? Mary looked back at the red Miata in the dealership. Yes, I would like to test drive that car right there. She walked towards the Miata in the dealership showroom as Dupont drove out the parking lot. My name is Kamani, and check out my newest release, Breakthrough, available now on Spotify and all other music outlets. And yes, my good people, I do sing as well. Now let's get back to the show. Mary Claire, this is Cicely Robinson of the New York Times editorial department. Is this a good time to talk? Mary adjusted the rear view mirror and opened the moonroof. Yes, well, are you calling about the story? I got caught up at the dealership. Yes, I did get the Miata. I know, it does suit me. I'm on the way to the print shop to pick up the manuscript. They advised it would be ready by the time I got there. Yes, I'll meet you at the office shortly after. Yes, thank you for your patience with me. Mary reapplied her lipstick and started her car. Mary knew she needed to get the article to the newspaper for printing. Robinson paid her considerably well for her knowledge of the East and West Haven rivalry. Mary spent months interviewing people of the Haven community that were ashamed of how the gang activity was picking up. She knew this information would put her firm ahead of any newspaper agency. She had insider information, and she was not afraid to drop that information as long as she would be the revered writer. The engine purred as she backed out the parking lot. She checked for oncoming cars as she turned right out of the dealership. The wind felt good on Mary's short bob style. It had been months since her last color, but she was happy with the results. She put on her sunglasses and revved the engine. Mary sang loudly with Bikini Kill as she turned into the parking lot of the printing press. Her good friend Allison stood outside, snubbing a butt with her heels. I thought you stopped, honey. Mary hugged Allison's neck. She kissed Allison's cheek and walked with her into the warehouse. Mary and Allison were best friends in high school. They were known as the Skipping Twins, always hanging out at the neighborhood coffee shops, smoking the Marlboros and whistling at the nice cars that drove by. Mary stopped smoking when she took the job as a journalist many years back. Her and Allison made a pact to quit together. Allison started the coffee machine as Mary sat on the oversized couch. The sounds of the warehouse drowned out the screeching tires of the cars circling outside. A gray Impala drove slowly behind Mary's Miata. The driver could be seen taking pictures of the car on the surveillance camera in the parking lot, but Allison was preoccupied. She and Mary sat arm in arm, drinking shots of espresso as the manuscript finished printing. Thank you for doing this for me, Allie. How many favors is this now? Allison smiled and grabbed her notepad. This marks number 527. Allison and Mary laughed. Anytime, Mary. Who's going to check on me in this empty old warehouse if you don't come with your requests? Mary hugged Allison and walked out to her car. She put the package on the passenger side seat and revved up the engine. Okay, baby, let's see what you can do. I'm late. Mary laughed as she drove onto Taylor Drive, oblivious to the gray Impala that pulled out of the parking lot behind her. She flew past her family doctor's office, not noticing Dupont talking to a nurse in the parking lot. She flew past the police station, not noticing the police officer that clocked her speed at 90. She never noticed the gray Impala when it pulled up next to her or when it swerved into the right side of her car. Mary's Miata spinned out of control before it flipped over. As the car began to slow down, Mary passed out from the force of the airbag. The driver of the gray Impala opened the passenger side door and grabbed the folder from underneath the broken glass. He pulled pieces of shattered glass from his gloves, went back to his car, and drove off. How did you enjoy the show? Why do you think Mary was so nonchalant? How do you think it ended? I'm wondering the same thing. I appreciate you tuning in to the first episode of 2025. It was a wild ride last year, so I didn't get to create as much as I wanted, but I'm speaking favor over this year. So get prepared. I hope to see you when the next episode airs. Download my latest single, Breakthrough, on my website. That's kamani.bandzoogle.com, KIAMANI.BANDZOOGLE, or you can listen on Spotify and all music platforms. And I'll see you next time, my Creative Soul family. Bye-bye now.